The budget, as you know, is a statement of the government's receipts and expenditure. Now, the way the government raises revenues, which finally become its receipts, and the way the government spends its expenditure, on what items it spends, what proportion of total expenditure goes into particular heads, these all have a bearing on the government's policy, both with regard to raising revenues as well as in making expenditure. Now, unlike a normal full budget, the interim budget is, as the word interim suggests, is something that marks time before a full budget can be presented. The outgoing government's tenure ends in May 2019. So, in 2 months of the new financial year, the term of this government comes to an end. Therefore, it would be wrong for the outgoing government to present the budget for the full year. So, it should be the right and the responsibility of the new government that takes office in the 17th Lok Sabha, which will be sworn in mid-May, to formulate and present that budget to the 17th Lok Sabha. And that is why the outgoing government presents only an interim budget. So it cannot actually raise any new taxes. It cannot announce any new major expenditure schemes. So the basic purpose is to allow the government to function. It's a vote on account, which will allow the government to authorize drawal of monies from the Consolidated Fund of India to carry on work for the time being until the new government is sworn in and presents a full budget. This is the purpose of the interim budget. In this interim budget, the people will look to more towards what has been the achievement in the implementation of last year's budget proposals. How much money has the government mobilized? What are GST collections this year? What have been the buoyancy in direct tax collections? How successful has the government been in containing the fiscal deficit, in managing its expenditure? These are the kind of things that the interim budget is more revealing, more relevant for. However, normally all governments have used the interim budget to present a grand vision that the government has. The government wants to implement this policy should it be re-elected to office in the next Lok Sabha. So in 2003, Jaswant Singh was the outgoing Finance Minister of the Vajpayee government. He presented an interim budget where, well, of course, there are no new tax proposals, there are no major expenditure initiatives, but in the speech, the budget speech, the Finance Minister, that is Jaswant Singh, announced a grand vision for a new, vibrant rural India, where agro-processing industry will take off finally, and farmers will be able to share a part of the additional value that they produce accrues before it reaches the consumer. So these kind of things the present government will also be able to lay out before the public through this mechanism of the interim budget. So the interim budget will firstly sum up the government's success or failure in raising revenues and containing expenditure as proposed in the last budget. Secondly, it will present before the people and through the Lok Sabha a vision of what this government wants to do if it were to come back to power after the next general elections.